Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello from the Burbank studio of ubngo.com. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is Money and You. It's our show about your relationship with money and how you can change and improve it to live and work a limit-free life. So thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited about today's show. We have some really wonderful topics today about courage and overcoming adversity. And, dealing with money takes courage. And it takes courage the way any relationship does. I like to talk about money as a relationship. And in any relationship, there's courage just to get into it. There's courage to be vulnerable in it. There's courage to expose your wants and needs and make sure that you are paying attention to another's wants and needs. And it's really interesting because it kind of goes the same with money. And money also has things that it needs. And if you relate to money properly, then getting to know what you want from it and getting to know what it would actually like from you to be allowed to grow and build wealth in the way that money wants to do. It's a really important relationship, and it does take courage. It takes a lot of courage, actually, to step into that relationship and to do the things that need to be done. So I really wanted to have an expert on courage with us today, and we have wonderful RJ Jackson here to talk about many things related to courage, and money will be part of the conversation. RJ is truly amazing, and you're going to so enjoy hearing from her and be just inspired by what she says. So I'm so happy that we have her today to talk about how to get on your path to greatness and to have courage and to tie that to money and building your financial future in the way that you want. So with that said, there are some really interesting things going on in the world today that really definitely take some courage. And so I wanted to talk a little about something that I've been reading quite a bit about. You may know, but since the McKinsey just did a big study on this, and since 2015, McKinsey and leanin.org have surveyed hundreds of companies each year to benchmark women's progress in the American workplace. And at every year through 2019, the average overall attrition rate for companies, that's the percentage of employees leaving, was slightly higher for men than it was for women, which is really interesting. The pandemic, however, had an almost immediate effect at kind of reversing that. So the impact on women and employment has been just enormous, actually, and bigger than a lot of people know. 1 in 4 women are considering leaving the workplace or downshifting their careers versus 1 in 5 men. And a lot of that has to do with caregiving and the responsibilities and obligations that women seem to have that really, for whatever reason, even in 2021, women still take on those roles and responsibilities in a way that men in general, not all men, but a lot of men do not take on. And women are just sort of naturally geared toward taking care of others and making sure that everything at home and with their parents and their children are cared for and done by them. So the disparity came across as really stark with parents of kids under 10. And the rate at which women in this group were considering leaving was 10 percentage points higher than for men. So it's a big deal what COVID-19 has done to women in the workplace. And women had been making quite remarkable progress in the workplace, but this has been a major setback, actually. So employees everywhere are reporting a myriad of pandemic-related challenges, from lack of advancement opportunities, stalled growth, loss of connectivity, and belonging with their colleagues, and on top of serious physical and mental concerns as well. And the interesting thing was that our economy may lose $1 trillion in, from this, the impact of women leaving the workforce at this rate. So that was depressing. And as I'm reading, I'm thinking, wow, where's the bright side in this? But they went on to say that acting now to improve gender equity could actually add 13 trillion to the global GDP. So really interesting kind of dilemma that we're facing, and something that has possibility if we turn it around and we do the things to improve the workplace and make it so that women, and not just the workplace, but improve areas of childcare and things like that, to allow women to come back into the workplace. So with that, because as you can see, all of this is taking courage, I'm going to go ahead and introduce RJ Jackson, who is our guest today. And I'm so excited to have her. So RJ Jackson is more than an international leader, professional speaker, and executive life coach who has traveled the world for over 20 years, inspiring others to fulfill their life's purpose. She's the proud mother of 2 supportive adult children and is known as Sweetie to 3 beautiful grandchildren. She's a sister, aunt, friend, volunteer, and a breath of fresh air to everyone she meets. Known as the Courage Giver, she has proven herself as a writer, hitting the bestseller list 4 times out of 7 books, penning books such as Conversations on Courage, Take Heart, and A Repositioned Journey, I'm Still Standing. That's her life story of overcoming adversity. RJ has conducted over 10,000 workshops, training sessions, and keynote addresses around the globe, including Bermuda, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Barbados, Jamaica, and on the mission field in Cambodia, Haiti, Kenya, Mexico, Nigeria, and Thailand. You'll rarely hear RJ talking about her certifications as a keynote speaker. Certified human trafficking advocate and anger management facilitator. Instead, you'll find her living life, doing what she loves, helping women eliminate the excuses and unhealthy habits that hold their happiness hostage so they can live the life they deserve. Her contributions to the community have earned her accolades such as Visionary of the Year, Leader of Distinction, and Woman of the Year. June 24th is officially RJ Jackson Day in Buffalo, New York. She lives by her favorite quote, "Life is not measured by what you have, life is measured by what you give." She enjoys serving on the mission field and volunteering locally, and has volunteered for the Rialto Police Department for over 12 years as a division leader and volunteer chaplain, and can be found behind the scenes serving the Travelers Aid Inland Empire team of Ontario International Airport. That's a lot, RJ. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
What a pleasure it is to be here with you, Michelle. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak life and courage to the listeners and to those who are viewing today's show.
Well, they are going to be so benefited from hearing from you. And I love listening to you. I do it as often as I can on social media or wherever I can find you. And you are quite an inspiration. So the first question I want to ask you, I read your bio, of course, but who is RJ Jackson? Tell us, from your heart, who you are.
You did read that bio, and I promise you, I owe somebody some money. I don't remember who it was, but first you need to know I'm a woman on purpose, with passion. I am a professional, but I'm not perfect. So I do what I love, and I love what I do. And more than my titles, it is who I am from the heart that really matters and really count. And I am that woman with passion who root for you because I want to see you win. I want to see women in particularly live their best life because I believe that's what we deserve.
Thank you. Yeah, beautiful. And I do want to say that RJ has been on the Limit Free Life show before it was Money and You. And but that was during the pandemic from my office. So but that is out there also for you to listen to. Because the reason I bring that up is because I want to focus a little more on money today. So RJ, when it comes to money, how did you learn about how to save and spend and budget and all of the good management practices that one needs to know with money?
Michelle, I'm like Abraham Lincoln, right? Everything I know I owe to my mama. My mother taught me about money. She taught me not only about earning money, but giving money away and living with and without money. And when I say without, we all need money to survive. But what she taught me is what matters most our relationships and how to make your money work for you. In my book, A Reposition Journey, I actually tell a story that I'd like to share a little bit with you today about how my mom actually taught me about money. One day we were driving down the street and we stopped at a red light and she looked over and said, "That's a shame. That man makes more money than me in a week than I make in a year." And I was like, who? Who, mama? Who you talking about? Because I didn't see a man in a car. I didn't see a man walking across the street. But she was talking about the man who owned the Cadillac dealership. And she shared with me that he makes so much money from selling cars. And here she is working hard every day. And he makes more money than her in one day than she makes probably in a year. And I drew a lesson from that, Michelle. And the lesson was, well, maybe we're not supposed to make that much money. And she works too hard not to make as much money as him. That doesn't make sense. So maybe he makes too much money. I'm pretty sure that's not the lesson she wanted me to learn, because where much is given, much is required. And so if he worked hard and found what worked for him in his business, he deserves to make the money that he makes. But that was a lesson I had to dissolve in my mind and in my heart, that he was worthy of his hire, and so are we. And so to someone listening today, so are you.
Yeah, beautiful. Do you, as far as the idea of courage and, so many of the things that you help people with, the perseverance and the resilience in going through difficult times, what would you say to some of these people who we talked about, sort of the difficulties that the pandemic has presented for women? And are you seeing some of that in people that you work with? And also, what would you say to them? Because right now it doesn't perhaps feel so optimistic and they aren't seeing the possibilities necessarily.
That's a great question, Michelle. And not only am I seeing it in women, I'm literally seeing it within myself. It's something I personally experienced with the pandemic. And a quick answer to the problem, a solution, is to continue to show up, continue to speak up, and continue to stand up for who you are and what you believe, no matter what that might be.
That's great. Yeah. What when you are working with women in empowerment, what are some of the key areas that you talk to them about? What allows them to feel more empowered?
Number one, the best thing that will help any person feel empowered is knowing who they are, believing in who they are. It's called confidence, also AKA known as self-worth. When you know who you are, life has meaning. And from knowing who you are, it's important to have a vision. As the saying says, without a vision, people perish. They just go away. They do nothing. They eventually die where they're living. And so I like to remind people, you don't have to live where you're dying, and you don't have to die where you're living. So make sure you know who you are and you live your life on purpose.
Yeah, beautiful. And when you feel like you're too busy and overwhelmed and have too many worries to spend time figuring out who you are, because I know as well from work that I do that is absolutely key. Self-awareness, knowing who you are, knowing that vision is everything. Without that, there's just no real direction. Even if you don't know how to get there, you need to know that there's something out there that you want and that's worth, like you say, worth living for and pursuing and everything else. But when people are feeling very stuck and don't even really have the vision, so they can get to know themselves better, and then how do they move from that to creating this vision?
I love that question, Michelle, because it's a question that primarily every woman asks herself every day. Like, what do I do? How do I do it? I don't know. And what happens when we don't know what to do? We do nothing, of course. So in order to get unstuck, I don't know if anyone on here remembers this commercial, Calgon, take me away.
I remember.
I really believe that's where the answer starts. It's called self-care, self-realization. It means there's a lot of noise out there, Michelle.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things pulling at our attention, and sometimes we need to retreat. We need to just go within ourselves and ask ourselves some very important questions. Like, what do I want? What really makes me happy? Not what do other people want for me? What do I want? And what makes me happy? And when we can answer those questions, we kickstart getting unstuck and moving towards success.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's such an important lesson for women because women are focused so much on, helping everybody else to be happy and everybody else to get what they want. And I do think it's very hard. You can definitely get to that point where you have no idea what you want. You haven't had time to think about it. So that is great advice, to focus on self-care. And even when it seems like there just isn't time for that, you have to make time, because that's the only path forward, really, is to take a little better care of yourself. And what about when you hear about the disparity and sort of the workload at home and everywhere for women, how can women learn to set boundaries, say no, ask for help? I mean, what are the other things that women can do to, I guess that's self-care in itself, but.
And it's a loaded question, a great question indeed. And one of the things I ask women to start with is to burn that cape. What cape are you talking about, RJ? That Superwoman cape. That Superwoman cape that you put on every single day. Some days you don't even take it off. You sleep in it, you bathe in it, because unfortunately, you believe that you can do everything for everyone. Can I help you? The woman who's listening who really needs to hear this today? No, that's not the way, because you can't. You're killing yourself. Don't do that. Instead, set a priority of what's important for you for the moment. And notice, I didn't say priorities, because you can only do one thing at a time. So set a priority of what's important. And once you accomplish that, do this. Celebrate that you've accomplished it, and then go to the next thing. Don't go to the next thing without celebrating what you've accomplished, because that's a perfect way to fill your own cup, celebrating what you've accomplished. Remember, throw away that super cape.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And, that is perfect too when it comes to money. Prioritize one thing. I think what stops people a lot with money is they'll read a book on how to manage money, and there's like a million things that you feel you should do. You should, you should save, you should invest, you should pay off your debt, you should make more money, you should do everything. And so it becomes very overwhelming, and then you just, kind of say, forget it and move on and don't do anything. Like you said before, right. That overwhelm just really keeps people paralyzed. And so choosing one thing, it doesn't even really matter what it is. Pick one thing that, maybe you're inspired to do and motivated to do, because it might feel like it's doable, and just start there. And once you get that going, take that next right action, because it is very, very difficult to look at what the world is saying you should be doing in every area, and not feeling overwhelmed by it. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Michelle, can I share a really quick story?
Absolutely.
A perfect example of what you're sharing right now.
Yes. Oh, of course.
Awesome. Thank you. So even as I'm talking with you, I have the camera, I have the view, I have the double exposure, and my eyes are going everywhere trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be looking at? Where am I supposed to be, right? So you may, even as you're watching this, be seeing, what is she looking at? Where is her eyes going? So I want to use that example because that's how the world is. There's so much going on that we're trying to be everywhere at every time, looking all around. Pick a focus. It doesn't matter what people think about what your focus is. You pick the focus that's going to work for you, and stay there until you've accomplished it. Whether that's saving money, earning money, building your business, whatever it is in your world, pick a focus.
It does take focus. Yeah, that was actually a hard one for me to learn because I thought it took hard work. I thought it took a lot of things, but not necessarily focusing on one thing. I bought into the story that you can do everything, at warp speed, and that's going to be what gets you where you want to go. And actually, it's what really keeps you from getting where you want to go. I mean, sometimes, once in a while, it'll work, but with most of the time, that focus is crucial. And we live in a world where it's almost impossible to focus. I mean, the idea of focus has almost gone away. I mean, when you and I were in school, there was a different level of focus that people were able to have because we had so few distractions compared to now. So I find that fascinating too. And, even though I grew up in a time when I think I could focus more, I've lost it just like everybody else because of everything going on and how just distractible people are today, including myself. So, that idea of focus, going back to that, focusing on one thing, getting it done, completion, that's the other thing. It's not giving up partway, along the way and not experiencing that success that builds your confidence. I know you talk to women a lot about confidence. And I think for some women, they don't realize necessarily that that's something you can develop. You're not just born with confidence. People tend to think, oh, that person's really confident and I'm not. What do you have to say to people about confidence?
Confidence is really what's inside of us, and it's how we feel about what's inside of us. So it does need to be developed, but it's like another one of my commercials that I like to use. And it's funny because I haven't watched television in 25 years. No, I take that back. I haven't owned a television. I have watched it, but I haven't owned a television in 25 years. So I share that because the examples I give to you are things that are foundational. They're like, let's go back and see what basically works. And so this one commercial says, like Prego soup, it's in there. Confidence, it's in there. However, it doesn't matter if it's in there if you don't open up the jar and pour it over the spaghetti. Your confidence doesn't matter if you have it, if you don't show up intentionally, if you don't use it. You know that saying, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So developing confidence is very important. Let me just give you maybe 3 quick tips on how you can do that.
Wonderful.
Number 1, reading is a great way to develop your confidence. Number 2, do something you're afraid of doing. Because when we do what we're afraid of doing and we accomplish it, our confidence skyrockets very high. And here's a really simple tip that you can apply right now to build your confidence. It's called posture. So when you sit up, it automatically improves your posture. I dare you to try it right now because not only does it improve your posture, it improves your confidence because it makes you feel good. You're standing tall. And when you stand tall, it's because you believe in who you are. Try it right now.
Yeah, I am. I feel better just sitting straight up. Yeah, that's great. That's a great thing that you can do, just sitting at your desk too, anywhere. And the physical things that you do can really impact your mind and the way you feel and the confidence that you have. So that's great. And I think it takes confidence and courage to focus because sometimes we're worried about the other things that we're not focusing on. And, maybe, I don't know, maybe they'll go away or maybe it's a problem if we don't look at them right now. So training yourself to be able to focus on the one thing you've set your sights on and actually complete that thing. It builds confidence and I think it builds courage because you were able to keep going and not worry about what else was around you and make that happen. And sometimes that's what it takes. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So what else with everything, all the challenges that people are facing today, we're kind of coming back into, a little more of a normal time, although, new normal. What other advice do you have for women and people in general as they kind of come back into the world? Because everyone feels differently about that too. Some people are really ready to get back out there. Some people aren't. They've kind of gotten used to a different routine and they might like it, and maybe they're afraid actually of having to go back out into the workplace. And um, any thoughts on that?
My best thought that I can share with everyone today is do what works for you in this season. Like, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. But what's the best you can do? And who's the best you can be, which is key because we are human beings, not human doers. So, who is the best person you can be in this moment? Show up as that person in this moment. And I promise you, when you get to the next moment, you'll be ready for it.
That's beautiful. How did you come along knowing what you wanted to be or who you wanted to be? What is the story behind that? Because you clearly, are clear on that now. Were you always how did you come about this being?
You know, I always say, and this is my little intro to that question, God created me. William and Rhoda Jackson conceived me. My ninth grade teacher, Sister Marge, saw potential in me. And because of those people, at an early age, which you can read about in my book, A Repositioned Journey, I'm Still Standing. At an early age, I said, this is what I was going to do with life. And I wrote them down. Wow. I don't know where I really got that from, but I wrote them down on this piece of paper. I can see it like it was yesterday. It had these big circles. It says what I'm going to do when I'm 20, when I'm 30, when I'm 40, and when I'm 50. And when it said 50, I said, oh, that's old. I'm retiring. But I soon discovered that you can't retire from what you love. And I am very, very blessed to be able to do what I love and love what I do and have been doing it for years. And I'll end with this. I did watch my mom and dad work really hard. They had great work ethics. They owned their own business. They were entrepreneurs. They worked, they sold real estate, they owned real estate. And because of the values and the vision that they gave me to look at, it gave me a foundation to build on. And as I saw them work really hard, especially my mom, who worked, they both worked for Nabisco. And my mom, to me, worked for a gold watch to retire. And I made a point early on in life. I said to myself, I will never work for anyone else for a gold watch. They can keep their gold watch. I'll go buy my own.
Yeah, that's powerful. Very powerful. So were you, did you start out as an entrepreneur early?
My first job, which I didn't have to work, I chose to work, was at the age of 14. And I worked for a family friend who owned a chain of fast food restaurants very similar to McDonald's, who actually he went on later to own about 6 McDonald's himself. I worked for him. I didn't have to work. I wanted to work. I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted my own money. And after that, I worked for TJ Maxx when I was about 20, early 20s, and I graduated from college. I worked for Head Start, and Head Start paved the way for me to become an entrepreneur. And for the last 30 something years, I have been an entrepreneur.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. And what would you say to people who are coming out of this and maybe not wanting to go back to their workplace for one reason or another, and who are thinking and listening to you thinking, I want to be an entrepreneur now. I don't want to go back to the office or to the company.
Know for sure that's what you want to do. It requires extra work, extra time, commitment, dedication, perseverance, and most of all, passion and purpose. If you feel this is what you've been called to do, then do it. You'll never know until you try. So go do it. Just know that it's not easy, breezy, lemon squeezy. It takes work.
Yeah.
But as they say, Michelle, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah, I agree with that. And work takes on a whole different meaning, and there needs to be a new word for it because it's still work, but it's different. So that's fantastic. And so as far as how what do you want your legacy to be? What how do you want people to remember you?
Not by the titles that I held, but the difference I made in their life. Impact is what I'm going for.
Mm.
So, just to share a quick story with you, I was walking on the college campus one day, and this young man turned around and he said, "Wait, hey, aren't you Miss Jackson?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "I remember you. I remember you came to our class, and I am here today because of what you said. You helped me realize who I was and that I had purpose, and I'm here today learning how to fulfill that purpose." And I always say, it doesn't matter what day I have, what I've been known for. I want you to remember me for the impact that I had in your life. How did I help transition you from where you are to where you deserve to be?
Mm, that's beautiful. So, as we wrap up, what would you like to leave our audience with? And then I want you to let them know how they can connect with you and work with you.
Thank you, Michelle. There's a lot of words I could leave you with, but I don't really have a lot of time. As the theme and the topic is money and you or money and me, I want to remind you that you make the money don't make you. So it's what you do with what you have that matters, not necessarily how much you make. And remember this, that life is about making an impact, not an income.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad you mentioned that actually. And before you let people know how to get in touch with you, I just want to say that's such an important statement because everyone has a different different purpose and different amounts of money that will make them happy and serve their needs and wants and life. And so this idea that there are certain amounts of money to chase or anything, it's all, that's just silliness. I mean, it really is about your life. It's a limit-free life. You can, if you can be happy with a lesser amount than someone else or more than somebody else, that's your decision. That you're free to make that call. And so I think in our society there's a bit of a pushback against some of that idea of I just here are the things I want, they make me happy and I'm good. So I just want to say I think it's a really important point that everyone doesn't chase the same dream and everyone doesn't chase the same amount of money, but what people do want, I think, is freedom and peace and love and just the idea that they can not be, they're at peace when they have the amount of money they need. Let's put it that way, and to have freedom through the money that you earn. That's what's important, whatever that number is. The number itself is yours to call. So,
Absolutely.
okay, so you just inspired me there with that. Sorry.
That's okay.
All right, RJ. How do people work with you, and in what way? And how can they
Well,
find you?
what you just said is an example of what I do. When you said I just inspired you. And what I want to remind people, you can have freedom. You can have peace. You don't have to live overwhelmed when overjoyed is on the menu. And what I do is I help you figure out the vision, the passion, and the purpose on how to get to where you deserve to be so you can have that freedom. You can feel that love and you can live the life you desire without chasing the dream, but living the dream. And you can connect with me anywhere online, my website, thecouragegiver.com. You can find me on social media platforms at The Courage Giver. And you can also listen to me and find me on Clubhouse at RJ Jackson. it would be my pleasure to connect with you and help you take a repositioned journey from overwhelmed to overjoyed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I forgot about Clubhouse. That's a great place to listen to you. And thank you for mentioning that. So I hope that the audience will reach out to you. You are truly an amazing woman, and full of wonderful guidance and inspiration and everything else. So for women who are needing courage, feeling trapped, whatever it is, or just, wanting to basically have what you have, which is great confidence and just a lovely grace about you, despite, anything that may have happened. You are the person that they should talk to. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. What beautiful words to share and to say. And I thank you for allowing me to be here. And you're right. I have gone through a lot. And I want meeting planners and decision makers to know that if you're hosting an event, it would be my pleasure to be your speaker to help transform your audience. I do have lots of stories to share that will help people transition to where they want to be. Michelle, you're amazingly beautiful. And thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Thank you, RJ. And I just want to say, if you want to hear more about some of RJ's stories and some of the events of her life, do go back and check out an earlier podcast with RJ Jackson on the Limit Free Life show. So RJ, thank you again. And I look forward to speaking with you soon and listening to you on all the various platforms. And again, thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. All right. Well, we are still here, and it's time for our Tough Money Love tip. And we're going to go ahead and kind of piggyback on what RJ was talking about and I just want to ask you, where do you lack courage around money? Who can you not say no to? Is it your kids? Are there siblings in your family who are asking you for money? Other relatives? Or asking for help? Remember, money, time, energy, they're all tied together. They're all similar currency. So who are you having trouble saying no to? And, or even, there might be a need for courage in other ways. Does someone else manage your money and you sort of leave them alone and don't push to get involved very much? Is that something you need courage to do, to get involved, to have some more money conversations with whoever is managing the money in your life? So where do you need boundaries? Maybe, maybe you need courage to set some boundaries with people and to say no to you or to others or even yourself. That's really where I was going with this. So maybe you are an impulsive purchaser and maybe you need some boundaries there, and to be able to say, no, I'm not sure I need this right now, or to put it in your cart and then carry it around for a little bit and then put it back on the shelf and wait a day. So figure out where you might need to have some additional courage with money. And then let's choose something and spend this week using your courage to say no, whether that's to somebody else or to yourself. And I just want to throw in that no, don't use words like, no, I can't afford that, because that is a real mindset shifter, and you don't need the kind of negative mindset and negative beliefs that brings up. So no, not no, I can't afford it, but no, that's not in line with my plan right now. That's not in line with my savings plan or my whatever plan you have. That's a better way to put it. And again, the words matter. And so that's my tough love money tip for this week. Where can you say no? Where can you set a boundary? Pick one thing and do it this week. So that's our show for today. And thank you so much for listening. I completely enjoyed it. I hope you did. And you can find me at limitfreelife.com. I have plenty of free resources on my website. You can find, there's a really good money boundaries breakthrough kind of checklist that might be good. It's on the Money Mindset page of the limitfreelife.com website. You can also find me on Instagram at Live a Limit Free Life, Facebook, Limit Free Life page, and YouTube, the Limit Free Life channel. So I would love to speak with you anytime. You're welcome to book a call with me. We can go over some of your money challenges and where you might need some additional courage or education or anything around money. So please feel free to get in touch with me. And thank you for listening to the show. We'll be back next week. And I hope you're using the money tips. Every show has a money tip. Go back and check and see what money tips were on previous shows and see if you can start implementing some of those tips in your life. It'll make a huge difference for you. So thank you for being here. Look forward to seeing you next time.